Okay, we're on to part 2 of our little hoop project, and I have completed my little bit of work here. Maybe a little bit over the top, did a little bit more. I used it like a little slip stitch just to catch in this little piece of embroidery here. I practiced some French knots, stitched on some buttons, went a little bit mad, but there you go. That's the idea behind it. Now, to finish the project, what you need is to go back to your 2 hoops. So bring back in your 2 hoops again, okay? So take your outer hoop first, and on the back, on the reverse of your project, again, lay it down and centre it up, and approximately 1.5 inches from the edge. Just give yourself a rough line to draw around. Trim away any excess fabric. Okay? Then thread a needle with a long thread, and it should be a strong thread. A polyester thread is probably the best, or you could use 2 strands of embroidery cotton, but you'll need to cut a piece long enough that you can stitch around the circumference of the circle. So it needs to, with a little bit extra on the end. So it's quite a long piece of thread that you're using. Thread it into a needle. Make a knot about, give yourself about 4 or 5 inches, about 20 centimetres, and make a knot. Take a double stitch to start at the beginning and do a running stitch halfway between, or thereabouts, between the edge and the finished size of your piece. So if you take a look, if I put the inner hoop here again, because that's what's going to be seen. So it's approximately 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch from the finished size. And the idea of that is when I pull it in, it's going to capture the size fully. Now, I have already done a little running stitch. Not too small, not too big. I'm not too fussy. A little bit uneven around, as long as it's approximately the size from the edge. Now you want to stretch your project onto the hoop. So take your inner ring, that's the one that doesn't have any screw on it, underneath, and position it. Take your outer hoop with the screw. Now you're going to have to do a little bit of centering on this. So eyeball where your centre is, open out the screw so that you can have a little bit of flexibility on the hoop, because remember now you're putting in over fabric, and position your hoop onto your piece. And if you're happy with the position, tighten in the screw a little bit. As you tighten it in, tug very gently your piece and your project. Give it another little tighten, do the other side. Now, you want it quite firm, almost drum tight in the hoop. And around you go, and keep a little pull on that, and when you're satisfied with that, make sure the hoop is rightly placed, tighten up that screw really, really tight. And give it a final tug before you turn, give it the last little turn. Because once it's in place, that's it. And tighten it up as much as you can, because you don't want it to shift at all. Now go to the back of your work, and I'm sorry it's done in cream thread and it's the light here, but I've my stitching done around. Now I'm just going to pull, and you see what happens, it pulls it all in all the way around. Now if that wasn't a good strong thread, that wouldn't hold. I'm going to just take the needle off now because I don't need that. And I take my 2 ends, and this is why I left a long end at the beginning as well. Take the 2 ends and tie a good secure knot on that. Tie a good secure knot on that, so that it doesn't move at any stage. What have we got going on here? Sorry about that, film dropped out. And clip your threads. Okay, Now that's not a very pretty back to finish with. What I like to do is I've also cut out a piece of wadding, and I use the inner circle just to give me that, and that's just going to sit underneath, and it just gives a little bit of body. Now be careful not to break your stitching. Just pop that in underneath there. And that this is just going to give a nice into the edge, and it just fits inside the hoop. Now, and then to finally finish off the hoop, I have a piece of inexpensive felt. I'm going to take my piece, lay it, now don't waste, some people will go into the centre, don't waste, out to the edge there, and with a pencil on the outer edge of the hoop, just draw a circle. Going to cut that out, coming not on the line but inside the line, because we actually want it a bit smaller. We want it to fit just on the edge here. Okay, so I'm going to come back, let you get on with that, and we'll come back to the actual finishing of the back of the hoop in our next little short video. Thank you.